Hey there, folks! Welcome to an intriguing journey into the world of genetic testing. Tonight, we're diving deep into the roller coaster ride that is 23andMe, a company that promised to revolutionize our understanding of genetics. Remember when spitting in a tube could reveal not just your ancestry, but also potential health risks? It was a game changer. It sounded like science fiction, but 23andMe made it a reality, for better or worse. They brought cutting-edge science right into our homes. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's rewind and take a look at how it all began. 23andMe burst onto the scene with a bold promise to unlock the secrets hidden within our DNA. They offered insights into our genetic makeup that were previously unimaginable. For a hefty price, of course. These tests weren't cheap, but the allure of discovering your genetic secrets was irresistible to many. But hey, who wouldn't shell out a few $100 to trace their lineage back to Genghis Khan or find out they're predisposed to sneezing fits after eating dark chocolate? The curiosity was worth the cost for many. It was a wild ride, with 23andMe quickly becoming the poster child for at-home genetic testing. Celebrities were spitting, investors were throwing money, and the public was fascinated. The company's valuation soared as it captured the imagination of millions. It seemed like nothing could go wrong. But as with any good roller coaster, what goes up must come down. The initial excitement began to wane, and boy did 23andMe come crashing down. Financial woes, regulatory hurdles, and public skepticism started to take their toll. Financial woes, layoffs, and a series of missteps led to a significant downturn for the company. Privacy concerns also plagued the company in recent years. People began to worry about how their genetic data was being used and who had access to it. So, what went wrong? Buckle up as we dissect the rise and fall of 23andMe, examining the highs and lows of this genetic testing giant, and explore whether this gene testing giant can recover from its self-inflicted wounds. Can 23andMe rise from the ashes and regain its former glory? Stay tuned to find out. So, what exactly does 23andMe offer? Well, their bread and butter is providing personalized reports based on your DNA. Spit in a tube, send it off, and voila! You get a detailed breakdown of your ancestry, ethnicity, and even potential health risks. Want to know if you're part Viking? 23andMe can tell you. Curious about your risk for certain cancers or diseases? They've got you covered. Or maybe you just want to impress your friends at parties with your newfound knowledge of Neanderthal DNA. Hey, no judgment here. The point is, 23andMe tapped into our innate curiosity about ourselves. They made genetic testing accessible and even a bit trendy. But as we'll soon discover, the road to genetic enlightenment is paved with more than just spit and good intentions. Now, let's meet the brains behind the operation. 23andMe was co-founded by Anne Wojcicki, a woman with an impressive resume. We're talking Yale graduate, Wall Street experience, and oh yeah, she was married to Google co-founder Sergey Brin. Talk about connections. See, the name 23andMe itself is a nod to the 23 pairs of chromosomes that make us, well, us. The and me part emphasizes the personal connection to our own genetic makeup. It's clever branding, we'll give them that. With Brin's financial backing and Wojcicki's vision, 23andMe secured a cool $9 million in funding right out of the gate. Not bad for a company built on analyzing saliva. In 2007, 23andMe launched its DNA testing kits to the public. And get this, the initial price tag was a whopping $999. That's right, folks, almost $1,000 to find out what your ancestors were up to centuries ago. But here's the thing, people were hooked. Maybe it was the novelty of it all, or maybe we're all just obsessed with ourselves. Whatever the reason, 23andMe became a household name. Time magazine even named their DNA testing kit the invention of the year in 2008. Talk about a stamp of approval. Investors were practically throwing money at 23andMe, and the company's valuation soared to a staggering $6 billion by 2021. Red ink and pink slips trouble in paradise? But hold on, folks, because this roller coaster is about to take a turn for the worse. Despite its popularity and sky-high valuation, 23andMe had a dirty little secret. They were bleeding money. That's right, all those DNA tests weren't translating into profits. In fact, 23andMe was losing money faster than a gambler in Vegas. And to make matters worse, the company faced a wave of layoffs in 2024, letting go of a significant chunk of its workforce. To top it off, their stock price plummeted, leaving investors wondering if they had bet on the wrong horse. It seemed the genetic testing bubble had finally burst. Why the hype died down, unraveling 23andMe's struggles. So what went wrong? How did a company that once promised to revolutionize personal genetics end up struggling to maintain its foothold in the market? How did 23andMe go from genetic darling to financial hot mess? The journey from being a pioneer in consumer genetics to facing significant challenges is a complex one. Well, there are a few culprits. Let's break them down to understand the full picture. First off, customer retention was a major issue. While the initial excitement was high, keeping customers engaged proved to be a challenge. People loved the initial thrill of discovering their ancestry and health risks, diving into their genetic makeup with enthusiasm. But after that, the novelty wore off. The excitement of the first discovery didn't translate into long-term engagement. It's like that bread maker you swore you'd use every day, but now just collects dust in the pantry. The same happened with 23andMe kits. Once the initial curiosity was satisfied, many customers didn't see a reason to return. Second, 23andMe's focus on health-related genetic risks raised eyebrows. The idea of learning about potential health risks through a simple test was both intriguing and alarming. Critics argued that these tests could cause unnecessary anxiety. The information provided was often complex and not easily understood by the average person, and weren't a substitute for professional medical advice. Without proper context, the results could be more harmful than helpful. And let's be honest, who wants to find out they're predisposed to something scary without a doctor to talk to? The emotional impact of such information can't be underestimated. The lack of immediate professional support left many feeling confused and anxious. And then there were the privacy concerns. In an age where data breaches are common, the idea of sharing one's genetic information was unsettling for many. We're talking about our DNA here, folks, the most personal data imaginable, the blueprint of our very being. The potential misuse of this data was a significant concern. People started to question what 23andMe was doing with all that sensitive information. Transparency became a major issue. Were they selling it to insurance companies? The fear of genetic discrimination loomed large. Sharing it with the government? The lack of clear policies and assurances made customers wary. The lack of transparency didn't sit well with many customers. In the end, these issues combined to erode trust and enthusiasm for 23andMe. The FDA says hold on regulatory roadblocks and market shifts. As if things couldn't get any worse, 23andMe ran into a brick wall in the form of the Food and Drug Administration, FDA. See, the FDA wasn't too keen on 23andMe dishing out health-related genetic information without proper oversight. This led to a series of regulatory hurdles and even a temporary ban on 23andMe's health-related tests. While the company eventually got back in the FDA's good graces, the damage was done. Meanwhile, the genetic testing market was becoming increasingly crowded. Competitors popped up left and right, offering similar services at lower prices. 23andMe was no longer the only game in town. Can 23andMe reinvent itself? A glimpse into the future. So, what's next for 23andMe? Can this fallen giant recover from its self-inflicted wounds? Well, it's a tough road ahead, but not all hope is lost. 23andMe is betting big on its trove of genetic data. They've partnered with pharmaceutical companies, hoping to use this data for drug development and research. Whether this strategy will be enough to save the company remains to be seen. Some experts believe 23andMe needs to shift its focus away from the consumer market and concentrate on partnerships with healthcare providers. Others argue that the company needs to be more transparent about its data privacy practices to regain customer trust. So, is your genetic code safe with 23andMe? In today's world, where data is the new gold, the question of whether your genetic code is safe with 23andMe is more relevant than ever. You decide. So, there you have it, folks, the roller coaster ride that is 23andMe. From its inception, the company promised to revolutionize personal health and ancestry tracking. But with great power comes great responsibility. From its meteoric rise to its dramatic fall, the company has taught us that even the most groundbreaking technologies are not immune to market forces, regulatory scrutiny, and good old-fashioned bad decisions. The stock market fluctuations and the controversies surrounding data privacy have been a wake-up call for many. As for the future, only time will tell if 23andMe can reinvent itself and regain its footing. The potential for innovation is immense, but so are the challenges that lie ahead. But one thing is for sure, the debate about the ethics, privacy, and future of genetic testing is far from over. Experts, ethicists, and the general public continue to weigh in on the implications of having our most personal data stored and potentially shared. And that, my friends, is a conversation we all need to be a part of. It's not just about the science, it's about the societal impact and the moral questions that come with it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to find a safe place to store my DNA sample. In a world where data breaches are becoming all too common, taking extra precautions seems like a wise move. Preferably somewhere fireproof, waterproof, and hacker-proof. After all, you can never be too careful when it comes to protecting your genetic information. You can never be too careful these days. So, stay informed, stay cautious, and most importantly, stay safe.